Alright, so last time I showed you guys how to install the NCAA Football 14 game along with the College Football Revamped mod into the RPCS3 emulator. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to create a realistic, or at least as realistic as possible, Season 4 2020. So obviously we're going to have to make a Dynasty to start. I'm going to go and create a whole new one. I'll just use an existing coach. And I'll just begin, because I don't need to change any of these settings for this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up custom recruiting classes. We're going to be setting up a college football playoff in this game that originally doesn't have one. And we're going to be importing a custom schedule. We're going to be doing all three of those things here today. So first thing is recruiting board. So you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to generate the auto generation for these recruiting classes. So you just go in all prospects. Obviously these guys are all generated, they're all fake, but you do need to load them in. So now we're going to get out of the game real quick, and we are going to go to this folder I have with all these tutorial steps in it. And just like last time, all of these zip folders are going to be linked in the description, or at least the websites to download them. So first thing you're going to want to open up is this one that's called Release. It shouldn't have the one, it's just because I've downloaded it twice that it has the one. But that's the first thing we're going to do, so we're going to right click on that, going to extract files, and just hit OK. It's going to put a folder in here. Okay, it didn't actually let me do the extraction because I already have it extracted in this other folder, so obviously it's easy. You just do the right click, you do extract here, and you hit OK. It'll put a folder that just says Release. So inside that Release folder, you're going to click on the EADB editor application, and that's going to open up this generic EADB reader. And from there, we're going to file, load config, and I'll do this for you real quick. So inside that release folder is going to be this Zan's NCAA 14 Dynasty config, and you're going to click on that XML file and just click open. So here it is. It is done. Actually, need to load in our file now to be able to see those names. So we're going to go open, and we're going to go all the way out of this, back to my desktop, and we're going to go to, we're going to go to NCAA, and we're going to go to the RPCS3 Win64 file folder, devhdd0, home, all these zeros with the 1 at the end, save data, and then we're going to need to find the Dynasty file, which should just be called default for me, because I didn't change the name of it. User data, double click on that, and it will open. So this is going to put all of the data with all the players in this Dynasty into here. And once that finishes after another couple of seconds, we'll be able to then import our custom recruits, which again, custom recruits are going to be linked down in the description. You go download that. There's two of them. There's 2021 recruits, which were this year, and 2022 next year. Those are the only two. I haven't been able to find any others for 2023 and beyond, but if I do, obviously I will give those a little link in the description. All right, there we go. So everybody's in here now. You can see all these players are now in here. So we're going to go over to recruit data, which is the third one out, and we're going to be messing with these four: stats, info, unknowns, pitch responses. So we're going to start on recruit stats. We're going to go to IO, and we're going to go to import, override existing. And now we're going to go all the way back to the release folder, or not the release folder. We're going to go right here, 2021 recruits v1.8. And we're going to go double click on 1_stats. It's going to load in. You're going to see all these names are going to change. And these are going to be the, obviously, real recruits from real life. Once these load in, there they are. You can see they're all the real recruits. You can look up their names if you don't believe me or whatever. But so I'm going to go to recruit info, and we're going to just do the same exact thing for all four of these. So recruit info goes in info. Unknowns will go into unknowns, and pitches will go into pitch responses. You got to take a minute for all of these to load. There's that one. Then we go unknowns, and then we'll do it one more time with pitch responses, and then we will be all good for custom recruits, real life recruits, I should say. So last one is the pitches, and once that loads itself in, there it is. We can do file, save, done. I probably should have left the Dynasty. You want to make sure you do leave the Dynasty, because it's not going to update if you're still inside it when you do it, so I messed that up, but it should still be fine. We go to recruiting board, we go to all prospects, and you can see that they changed. from the first time I loaded them in. And if you don't believe me here, we'll just real quick go to a Google tab. We'll look up J.J. McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy is a football player, and he committed to Michigan. And you go back to the game, you can see right here, J.J. McCarthy, and his number one school is Michigan. So that's how you know it worked. So now custom recruits are all done. Close out of this tab. So now, once I full screen this again, is going to be, we're going to skip tutorial, red shirt, depth chart. We're going to go to custom schedules. So you see this custom schedule here. This is actually Pitt's 2013 schedule, because obviously this game came out in 2013. So this is Pitt's 2013 schedule. But we're going to change that though. And it's not going to be just by going in here and clicking this and, you know, clicking on Auburn or whoever we want to play. We are actually going to, again, minimize this. And we're going to download the next thing, not the EADB editor. You can actually close this now because we're done with that. So just make sure you save it. So the next thing we're going to do, back into my tutorial folder, is the NCAA 14 Utility Tool. Again, linked in the description, just an easy download. Zip file, just right click on it, and extract files, and then OK. I'm not going to do it because I already have it. So this is what it'll give you right here. I'm sorry. I actually don't have it in this folder. But when it does extract, you can just type it into your search bar, and it'll pop up. I'm not exactly sure if there's a folder for it or anything, but when I want to open it, I just go down here, look up a utility tool, and it's right there. So now, in the utility tool, we have options for college football playoff, which I will demonstrate later on, poll editor, which I will also demonstrate in a second, and the DB editor, which is what we're going to go into right now. So we go DB editor, and we did open files. So we're going to go all the way back. It's a lot of older running through here. Go back to the RPCS3, HDD0, home, 01, save data, same exact default file, and user data. And this can open up a bunch of tables. And this is really confusing if you don't know what you're doing. But we're going to scroll all the way over to the right, and we're going to find SCHD, which is short for schedule. We're going to click on that, and you're just going to see this giant table. So what you're going to do here is import table, and we're going to go again all the way back into the NCAA folder. We're going to go to this file that is import files for editor, which again, in the description, will be linked. Another zip file that you extract into this folder. So we'll click, there'll be a couple of things in this, but the only one you're going to need is one, import files for editor. I think there's 5 other folders in there that are just setups to download other programs. So you're definitely not going to need those, but if you click into this, we have a bunch of things. None of these are going to be useful except for these 3. The organization schedule for 18, 19, and 20. If you want to do, obviously, a realistic 2020 season, it's going to be impossible because, of course, the schedule's all changed because of this whole pandemic thing, but the 2020 schedule that is right here. So that's the most realistic, obviously, you can get if you want to play a 2020 season. But I suppose it doesn't really matter. If you want to get the full use out of these 3 schedules, you can obviously start with 2018. The year in the game is still going to stay 2013. There is a way to change the year. I did that on a couple of my old Dynasty, switching the year to 2020, but for some reason it just breaks the stats and the Heisman. The Heisman ends up as 5 players from the same team, like 40 overalls, and the stats just straight don't work. So for some reason changing the year just completely breaks it. So in that case, we can just use any schedule we want. So if you want the full 3 years of completely real custom schedules, you could do that. So I'm just going to do 2020 because I know the Pitt 2020 schedule. I'd have to look up their 2018 and 19, but obviously if you want to use whichever one you want, you can. But I'm going to open up 2020. It's going to import, and it is successfully imported. Doesn't look like anything's going to change here, but it did. We can just go back, and we're all done there. So once again, I can close out. I actually want full screen this because it black screens for a second, but I'll do that. So we go back in, and we're going to see the schedules change. So remember, the first game was against Florida State. Now it's open, and then Miami of Ohio. And once again, I will look up Pitt 2020 pre-COVID schedule. And you can see Miami, Ohio, Marshall, FCS team, Duke, Miami. Miami, Ohio, Marshall, FCS team, Duke, and Miami. So that's the custom schedule. So now we're all set, actually, to start the season. Obviously, you're going to want to set up your recruiting board by targeting certain players. You're going to want a red shirt and set your depth chart, but for the purposes of this, we're just going to go to the regular season. And we're actually going to skip all the way through the season in a moment here, just to show you how to set up the college football playoff. But for the moment, we're going to look at the poll editor. So again, we're going to go all the way in. You don't have to do this. It's not really the most necessary thing, but I like to have it so the polls are completely accurate to the preseason of 2020, because that's technically when I'm trying to start this dynasty, is preseason of 2020. Obviously, the year again is going to stay 2013, because changing the year messes up the stats and stuff, like I said. But once again, we're just going to go to RPCS3, HDD 0, home, 0, save data, default, user data. Once again, you don't have to do this, because the polls are actually fairly close. They're a little bit off, so I like to change them to be completely accurate, but you don't have to, but just in case you want to, I can show you how to use it. So, we have coaches and media poll, obviously, the AP and the coaches. So what I'm going to do is look up really quick. So I like to use this USA Today Sports website, which has the top 25s for the AP poll right here, and then the coaches poll, which are the two that are going to be showing up in here, the coaches and the media AP. So starting with coaches, as you can see, we have, if I get into here, obviously where you start, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and then right here, you can see is different. So I just like to switch it. You can literally drag, you can click and change the team there. But yeah, what I just do is I go through this and just make it so it matches. You know, however that may be, you can do what you want. If you want to put Ohio at number 1, you can do that. You just click on Clemson, you can click on whoever you want, they can be number 1, and then the same thing for media. So that's not too important to do, but it is a nice thing that I like to do, just to make it absolutely real. So apart from that now, I'm just going to go and skip through this entire season, all the way to the championship game, and then we're going to set up the college football playoff, because of course this game came out in 2013, the college football playoff came out in 2014, so the playoff actually wasn't in this game. So we're going to need to set that up ourselves with a little bit of utility editing again. And once this sims all the way through, I can show you to do that. Alright, so as you can see, we're in bowl week now. I'm playing Tennessee, which is 9-3, which is pretty good, but so now we're going to have to actually go and set up a playoff, because obviously, as you can see right here, the number 1 versus number 2, they're already playing in the national championship, because that's how football used to work, but of course not anymore. So we're going to close out of the Dynasty again. We're going to go college football playoffs back in the utility tool. We're going to do 4-team. We could do 8-team. I haven't personally done 8-team yet, so I'm just going to go 4-team, and then there's 3 different steps. So step 1 is going to be setting up the playoff. So once again, we're going to open up the Dynasty default and user data. We're going to let this load in. We're going to see the playoff bracket, and this is just creating, obviously, the 2 games for the semifinals, instead of just, of course, in this game, it's the national championship 1 versus 2, and then just a bunch of bowl games. So this is going to set it up to where 1 plays 4, and 2 plays 3. And after that, we can just hit the arrow. Obviously, you can change whoever you want. So, for the purpose of this, I'm going to keep it the same. But if you really wanted, you can take Bama here, and you can put in Wake Forest, if you'd like to. I think for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm actually going to put myself in, and I'm going to put, like, a no-name, I don't know, let's do Akron. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm actually going to try and win, or at least get to the national championship game, so I can just show you how it actually works. Playing game by game, because technically if you make it to the national championship, you could be playing 2 games but only 1 week, so it does get kind of confusing. So I'll show you how to do that. So again, for the purpose of just showing that, I'm going to put 3 pretty bad teams in here to see if I can win and get through, but if I don't, it's alright. So now we're just going to hit the arrow down at the bottom right and then the check mark, and then I can edit any of these matchups if I want to. We're going to keep them the same. Just hit the save, and we're done. So I can exit out of that, and I'll go back in, but in a second. We're going to go back to the Dynasty. We're going to see my game changed from, it's still going to say that it's Tennessee, but see, obviously now we're playing Akron, and we're playing Akron in the playoff semifinals. So in my purpose, I would play this game. Obviously, if I was in the playoff, I'd play this game and see what happens, but again, for the purpose of tutorial, I'm going to sim it. So we're going to go all the way down, or actually not all the way down. We're going to find Pitt Akron, and this, again, I didn't change the rankings, obviously, but this is one of the semifinal games based on what I did, so we're going to sim it, and we won. So now we're in the national championship game. Of course, we still have to set that up. Now we're going to find the other one I did. I don't even remember. It was Old Dominion Vanderbilt. We're going to sim this, and I don't know who won, but it doesn't really matter because the utility tool is going to tell me. So once again, close out. You have to close out every time you want to change something like this. It's not going to update until you close out of it. So now we click on step 2, open file, user data. And now it's going to, we don't have to change anything here. It's just going to make us save it, just to make sure that it knows what the national championship game. You have to do this because the national championship game actually is held by 2 placeholder teams until you come in here and confirm that it is Pitt Old Dominion. You can change the stadium if you want. The most recent playoff was at Hard Rock Stadium, so you can keep that. And we'll just save. And once again, close out. And we'll get ready for step 3. But again, we go back into the Dynasty, and we're going to see now we have another game. Same exact week. Didn't sim a week, but we still have the same game. So once again, I'll go to scores and schedules. And again, if it was me actually playing in this as Pitt, I would, of course, play the game. But again, for the purpose of tutorial, I'm just going to sim. And Pitt lost. So Old Dominion has won the national championship. So once again, we're going to go out. Step 3 is finalizing, so we'll do the same thing. It's going to load and load and load. And there you go. Old Dominion national champions. Never going to happen in real life, but only in this tutorial. So they won, so we confirm it, we exit out, and that's it. That is everything. So what we could do is just go to end of season, and that's going to be it. You can get set up for the next season. So that's it. That's how you go through a realistic 2020 season. Obviously, I use the 2020 schedule, but if you want to get the use out of those 3 schedules, you can use them in really any order you want. If you want to use the 2020 and 2020, and then use 18 and 19 the next few years, or start at 18, then you can obviously do that. But that's how you get through as realistic as possible a season. And of course, for 2021, you can do the same exact thing. Like I said, if I were to do this, I'd probably go jump back to the 2018 schedule before I start making my own, but there you go. And then once again, if we go back into the NCAA folder, we have the 2022 recruits. You do the same exact thing I showed you with the 2021. You set up the auto-generated class, and then you go through the EADB editor. And if you want to set up a college football playoff, you do the same thing you always do with this utility tool. 18 playoff if you want. But that's how you do it. That's how you set up as realistic as possible of a season. So I hope you found this tutorial to be helpful. Not sure if there actually even are tutorials out there for this, so hopefully it did help. And you have some good experiences here with NCAA 14. And I hope you stick around, because I've got a lot of things coming out. I'll give you a little sneak peek here if I exit out. We've got these 2 right here, and one more. We've got 3 dynasties. I'll let you know more about them later. We also have a Road to Glory. So stick around for those. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. See you next time.